What's going on?
Not much,
Ray,
what's going on with you?
this is my best friend for the last 30 years, John. He's also somehow my fucking boss. I don't know how that whole thing fucking happened. But Ray has been a very close friend of mine for a long time. We're all metalheads.
Hell yeah.
And we're all kind of new to fucking faith.
Yeah.
So we wanted to throw down like 10 to 15 minutes of that real quick if you're cool with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good deal. Yeah, I mean, just kind of starting out, letting you know kind of where this kind of came from. Me and Jess were just talking about like you said, we've been together for 30 years now. Actually, I think this is right at 30 years. It was 95 whenever we met, and we've kind of been on the up and down through a bunch of different things. I've always been very against religion in the past until it's been an awakening over the last probably year or so that slowly kind of transitioned. And me and him had a conversation back in September, and with another buddy of ours, and it was just like, hey, why don't you believe? And it was like, I'm sitting in a hotel room, and it was like, it was after Charlie Kirk. My mom passed away 2 years ago. Bunch of other things happened, and I kind of, started, sinking into it and really thinking. And, within the last probably 2 months, it's been, 50 days now since I received my Bible, started reading every single day, really kind of diving into a bunch of different pastors online and stuff, and seeing a different view. And we've just been kind of bullshitting back and forth a little bit about faith, and how things kind of went. And he brought your name up, so yeah, I mean, I went from being very anti-religious in a death metal band, black metal band, all kinds of stuff like that for years, and intentionally rebelling and not really knowing why, to now I've full bore. The Honorbound Brotherhood is something that I'm trying to start up, essentially to coach and motivate men. I've been a personal trainer. I've been dealing with, coaching kids in, sports for years. And I've been working with men as far as leadership goes, throughout the oil field for the last 15 years. And, now I'm kind of bringing faith into it. And in the last probably 2 months, 2.5 months that this has been going on, like I've just seen a full 180, dude. Like everything in my life has changed. Like my wife, my kids, my household, the way I'm working at work, everything's going better and shit. And it's crazy. And he brought your name up and stuff, so we brought you on, and just kind of I've only got one podcast episode already started, but wanted to kind of branch out and get some interviews going. And what better time than now to just get you to jump on for 10 or 15 minutes and have a quick conversation.
First off, thanks for the invite. I've heard a lot about you over the years, that's for sure. Bo's like my unofficial big brother. And metal has bonded us, metal and softball. I have to wear a Slipknot shirt as we're talking about this. But religion. I found God recently, and I'd say so. I had a complete epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
The week Charlie Kirk died, actually.
Same.
That Sunday before he died, my wife and I were sleeping. I woke up out of his dead dream, and the dream I remember very vividly. And I had this dream that I was on a plane with nobody I knew, and this plane crashed. But we crashed in the woods, but you were able to survive it. So I get off this plane, but God made this golden line in the dream. Only true believers and true followers can pass that line. If you didn't, you died.
Mm-hmm.
But you get that warning that you're going to die. Flash forward in that dream, 10 years went by, and I was never able to cross that golden line. 3 days later, Charlie Kirk was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
Completely 180'd my life, my beliefs. My wife is a Christian. We've been together. Our first year anniversary was actually yesterday. Or Sunday, sorry. Thank you. And
Happy anniversary, by the way, bud. I didn't get a chance to text you. I was busy.
oh, it's all good. I appreciate it. But she's been a Christian, a very proud Christian.
Mhm.
Her parents, her father passed away last year, was a Christian man. My mother-in-law, but they never forced it on me. I was very anti. I had my beliefs. Jesse knows my story quite well with religion and why I turned my back to it for so many years. I've been going to church. I try to make it to every church every Sunday. I read stuff. I learn. Believe it or not, it's surprising. I learned a lot of stuff on TikTok from
Mhm.
preachers and stuff and different pastors doing different things. And I believe how I see myself, my Christianity. I see my Christianity as the Crusaders, is how I see it,
Right.
and how what I believe in that, and the Knights Templar,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth. I really have taken to that. So
Uh,
that's where I've come from.
Well,
so
yeah,
you
good
take
deal.
a more a manly approach to Christianity, like John and I
Yeah,
do.
Yeah. And
yeah,
like a big part of the last probably 20 years or so, um, you know, being I claimed atheist for a very long time. And kind of like you were saying with like the crusader aspect of it and stuff like that, the warrior aspect of it, I fell heavily into, Viking mythology and a lot of
Right.
that just because of the very like almost manly aspect of it. And it was, did I really know why? No, not really. I mean, being into black metal and Norwegian bands and a lot of that kind of stuff, a lot of that fell into it. But at the same time, I kind of had the same epiphany, right around that whole point where I was I'd listened to Charlie Kirk for years.
yep,
And a lot of the stuff, and like I said earlier, a big part of what I've uh, always been geared towards is growing and developing men around me. And that's I feel like he did a lot of that. Now, I didn't agree
hmm
with him or under it's not that I didn't agree with him on his religious viewpoints, but I just couldn't see from his aspect of how he came to some of his rationalities. And
yeah, me
so a
too.
lot of that. And I listened to him. I admired his ability to stand his ground in his belief. And
His ability to debate was
well,
fucking
no,
unmatched.
his ability to debate was great, but at the same time, like his ability to put the mic down, let somebody else speak, and no matter how hard he was challenged, he stood his ground in his faith. And I admired that. Even if I didn't believe
I
him
don't care.
or at the time, I really admired that. But like, a big part of it too was that he actually passed me and my wife. We were kind of chilling up in the room. Kids were around and stuff like that. I got 4 kids, and it was our anniversary. So we had been married for 14 years. It was our wedding anniversary. We're sitting there talking about what are we gonna do for dinner and this and that, and it popped up on my phone, and I was like, oh no. I was like, my you know selfishly of me, it's like our wedding anniversary is always going to be Charlie Kirk's death. But at that point, I was like, kind of looked at it, and I was like, maybe this is the awakening that I need, like literally like the turning point. Like, maybe it was what I needed to really get me to see like there was something else that I wasn't doing that I needed to refocus my life on. I was drinking. There was a bunch of, was never doing anything really bad, but like I drank a lot. I was just
Dilly dilly.
in, yeah, right. But like I was, intentionally rebelling against a lot of things that I maybe shouldn't have or didn't really believe so much in that I, should have kept rebelling against them. But like, I always liked the Bible from a from a historical standpoint. So like, I'm not completely new to the Bible. Like there's a lot of it that I've understood from a historical standpoint, but reading it from a faith-based standpoint has completely changed my life. Like and that's really what it was. That awakening on my anniversary when Charlie Kirk died, like, and I related it back again to my mom dying of cancer. The the day my mom died of cancer, my son, who was 8 at the time, I think. Found a bump on the side of his head. We were down in Orlando, Florida, at Disney when she passed away up here of cancer. In that same time, that about 2 hours before she passed, my son had a bump on the side of his head. We uh, did my mom's wake when I got home, and the next day took him to a doctor. Had that bump assessed. That was like a Monday. By Friday, we were in the hospital. By Sunday, he was having brain surgery for cancer. And, so there was like this whole just big thing. And it's like, I never leaned into faith. I never did. It was just like, well, I mean, it is what it is. Like, we're at the best place we can, at Children's Hospital. Like, we're in the best place we could be. Let's go ahead and get it repaired and get it fixed. And, we'll take care of it. And it's going to be okay. And then, I kind of, when Charlie Kirk passed, like the last 5 years ran through my head, and I was like, all right, like something's got to change.
Yep. Yeah. Very similar. But which, like Jesse says, me and him talked. Let's say, what was that, Jesse? Like a month ago. I
Roundabout.
was when me and you talked when I found my faith and everything, and how we talked about it, and where your standpoint is on it, and how you're interested in joining Carrie and I, and introducing you to Pastor Larry, the guy that he actually, it's funny, JD, is that he put that in me last year.
Mm,
So it was there when my father-in-law passed away. My father-in-law passed away from cancer June 19th of last year.
okay.
And Pastor Larry, he came, a friend of my father-in-law's came, and he wanted to do prayers with my father-in-law. My father-in-law passed away mid-prayer,
Oh, really?
and mid-prayer, and he passed away while praying. And it was like the most peaceful, beautiful thing I think I've ever witnessed in my life,
Mm-hmm.
besides, my wife's reaction to it happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he married us, and so it was kind of planted there.
Yeah.
And then when everything happened that week, we went to church that Sunday. First time I stepped into a church service in a long time.
Yeah.
And
But
we
Ray,
stepped in
I
there.
am going to say your wedding service was the most comical I've ever been a part of.
It was.
But
But yeah,
no.
that full fledged epiphany, I was saying, that first church service after
Mm,
Charlie passed away, that dream,
yeah.
it completely lit something inside of me, spiritually, emotionally, everything. Like, I couldn't keep it together in church. You can ask Jesse. I'm not an emotional person
Right.
like that. My eyes were watery the entire service, and ever since then, I've given my life to God, and I'm doing things to be a better person, and not letting the outside, the demons on the outside try to make their way in. And
Right.
that's how I see stuff now.
No, and that's kind of the same way I was too. And it's weird because I haven't even told Jesse this. Like, I called my wife immediately after this happened, but like I was heading to work one day, and I pulled over right there in Weirton at that Sheets gas station up there, and stopped, got gas, got out. I'm pumping gas, and this old black guy like walked up out of nowhere. I don't even know where the hell he was coming from. I don't know where he was going. Just walked past me, turned around, came back, stuck his hand out, shook my hand, and boom, said a prayer. And I'm like, what just happened? And I was just like, I sat there and I thought about it for a second. I didn't know how to react. Nobody's ever done that before, but like it was just like this weird thing. It's like, okay, well, like, I just it was probably about a week after Charlie Kirk had passed, and like I was no, it wasn't. It was beginning of October sometime. And I was reading the Bible and stuff like that, and he just came up to me and just said a prayer, and it was weird. It's never happened before, and it was like, all right, something's shifting. Like something happened, and I don't know what the hell it was. And it was like it almost came to that feeling of like, all right, I know this is right. I know that what's actually occurring is real. And I'm trying
Mhm.
to build this movement for what I'm essentially calling the Honorbound Brotherhood, is just how do we bring honor and community and everything back to a biblical masculinity standpoint of how do we raise men up around us, because there's this point right now where there's a big movement of men right now running and or not running too, but finding faith and having
Yep.
these epiphanies and having this realization that, like, you know something's got to change. And
Yeah.
the weakness we've seen around us, and it's crazy that like you, me, I've never in 30 years talked to Jesse about this kind of stuff, that
Fuck
you
no.
know that like it's happening all over the place now. So, like,
Yeah.
just trying to, and a lot of my stuff is like, I've got a strength and fitness background. How do we bring faith, fitness, um professional and personal and professional leadership development? How do we bring men back to actually leading the homes, uh, you know, and doing all the things that we should be doing? I mean, hell, I look at my wife's grandfather, who was a merchant marine, in up into his 90s when he passed, still going to church, still going working on his son's farm out in Amity, still doing all these different things. It's like, he had control of his house. And when he
Yeah.
passed, it was like the patriarch of the family was gone, and like everybody just kind of you know disbanded. It was weird. And it's like you need men to hold the family and hold the infrastructure together. And until men like us stand up and take our rightful place, and actually start reading the Bible and going to church and having these kinds of conversations, like, it's got to start somewhere. And I'm new to faith. I'm trying to learn more every day. I'm listening to, I was telling Jesse, Pastor Joby was, I don't know if you ever heard his stuff on hell, TikTok, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
Joby Martin he's a Southern preacher, it really, really cool, down to earth. But a lot of his stuff is based towards biblical masculinity and telling men, like, you know, the church has a history of, you know, telling men to be soft and tame and gentle, and sit back and shut up, and
Fuck
be
that.
and be be cautious, and be just be good boys and sit down and listen. And really, that's not what the Bible says at all. The
No.
Bible tells men that they could be masculine men, that they're there to lead and protect and care for and love their family, and love your wife like Christ loved the church, and all these other things. And it's just like, I finally heard it from a man's mouth that said, "You're allowed to be a man." And it's crazy that, like, all these different voices are suddenly popping up out of nowhere, where it's I'm now hearing stuff that I hadn't heard my entire life. That when I finally started opening up my ears and opening up my mind to it, all these voices started popping up.
Well, that's the biggest thing,
Yeah.
is opening up our ears and mind, because I wasn't willing to listen to any of that shit.
Right.
Nothing. I want to hear it. I had my, you said, like, me and you were both atheist, and then I think I considered myself agnostic for quite a while, because that was a very convenient cover,
Yeah.
because agnostic means you just don't fucking know.
Right.
I don't know what to fucking believe.
Right.
Like when we
So
talked
it
about it,
was a convenient
Jesse,
cover.
Right.
we talked about it like 2 months ago. We talked for an hour,
Yeah.
and you let it all out there emotionally. You just poured it on me, and I
Yeah.
told you about my experience, and uh, which led being on here today. And it was honestly one of the most beautiful conversations I ever had with you, because you made yourself vulnerable in the right way. You let it in, and you're like, I need to do this, this, this. Well, how'd you do it? And for me personally, if I can help anybody with that, coming from somebody that has such a dark history with my personal life and all this stuff, and I can overcome it. And I'm grateful and blessed to still be here today to talk to y'all and to find my way. And JD, to your point, how you said, and men to be men and stuff like that. Right now, we as Christians, we are under attack,
Oh
as
yeah.
a lot of people know. We are under
Absolutely.
attack. we need to man up. We've never had a threat like this since the Crusades. Let's
Right.
be honest. Watch the
Right.
Kingdom of Heaven. What they went through in Kingdom of Heaven is what is happening right now. We as
Yeah.
Christians need to stand together. We as Christians need to be ready to fight for our faith, our religion, and our families. That
Hmm.
is no way around it. Plain
Right.
simple.
Head on.
So, I mean, no, I'm 100% in, right alongside you guys with all that. And that's, how I've always kind of felt, I've got a great relationship with my wife. We've been together for 19 years now. And I've always had that, protect and provide standpoint, you know, from my family, but like, why? Like, where did that come from? And until I really, outside of like the whole like man up and do it aspect, now it's like, okay, well, maybe there's actually a reason and something that says that's the right thing to do. Yeah, and
Well, and that's
and
where
gives it structure and gives it, actual concrete, like, in the scripture on it is just uh it just hits differently to understand why, you're supposed to protect and lead and provide
yeah.
and honor your wife and everything else, and your kids, and making sure that, the people around you, not just them. Me and Jess were just talking a minute ago about, when we were growing up, you know we it wasn't biblical or nothing like that, but it's like, you protect those who are lesser and those who are weaker. We weren't out there fighting. We weren't out there, bullying and picking fights just to pick fights, but we would protect ourselves and we would protect those who needed protecting.
I mean,
And
John and I never we didn't grow up in religious families.
no, not at all.
I mean, my
I
cousin
did.
Stephen is I thought he was actually going to be a fucking priest. That's the closest I can come to a actual like
Yeah,
put it in stone like religious figure.
right,
We didn't grow up that way. We grew up with I mean, we practiced in John's basement.
right,
Uh and we jammed out, and we listened to everything you could that would be unacceptable.
right. Almost
And that's
at that point,
always
like intentionally blasphemous.
yes, yeah, yeah, like we went out of our fucking way
Right.
to be blasphemous as shit. And
I was the same
shit,
way. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I told John like Ray played softball with us. His number was 666,
Yep.
and you were intentionally blasphemous. And I don't know how to come back from that because I don't know how I'm going to answer for that the day I die.
Well, and
Yep.
as
Me
far
neither.
as well, and that's the thing. It's like, as far as I've read and heard and know right now, I mean, you know, your your belief and your, asking for forgiveness, and your just reading the
Yep.
scripture and just giving your life to God, it's forgiven, and that's just it. And I have a hard time. We were talking. You can have serial killers and murderers and, all these different people that are like,
Oh yeah,
at what point it is there a point of not being
that's
forgiven? But
kind of
like,
where my hard line gets
well,
drawn.
no,
Is
absolutely, and I'm the same exact way. And there, I stand on ground that
Jeffrey
there's got to be
Dahmer.
a hard
Jeffrey
line.
Dahmer was given a hard pass because he was a Christian when he died. But like, come
Right.
on, dude.
I had a hard time coming to the realization that, like, Erica Kirk stood up there and she's like, I forgive him. It's like, how?
Yeah. Oh
Like,
man. My
I
wife
don't
said
care
the
how
same thing.
I don't care how religious you are. How do you forgive somebody that does something like that? Now, is it because
Yeah.
Fuck no, she
is it
can. I can't.
because, well, no, I think it's because, for you to be able to move on in your life, to be able to deal with your kids, to be able to have some sense of, you know, right way forward, instead of,
Mhm.
dwelling on it forever every single day, you have to have some kind of forgiveness. Now, it's not saying that there's not justice, but there has, you have to be able to forgive in your heart to be able to just move on with your life. Because if not, you're just going to end up ending it. So, like,
Yeah. Like.
there is certain things, but like, oh, it's just, I have a really hard part with that.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Like with with me, uh, Jesse knows with me with religion. I grew up religious, believe it or not. So,
Mhm.
this is a pretty crazy story. But here's where it happened was my parents divorced when I was younger. My mom bounced around religions, religiously, obviously,
Mhm.
and then my dad married into a Greek family, Greek Orthodox family. You want to talk about a
Oh Lord.
complicated religion?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't speak Greek or any of that. So as a kid,
You didn't
when I was
understand any
living
of
in
it.
Florida, yeah, I had to go, and their services are so long.
Mhm.
One, they don't speak English. Two, I don't understand the religion. My mom was Catholic for a while, and she was Baptist, I think. And then, so what happened with me with my loss of faith, it wasn't like I lost people in my life that affected it, but for me, I didn't understand anything. I didn't
Right.
understand Catholic. I didn't understand Greek Orthodox. So ultimately, to me, I was blasphemous. Like he said, I didn't
Yeah.
care
Right.
because I never nothing ever clicked with me spiritually until recently. So
Mhm.
that's what happened, and that's why I went away from religion.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
with me, it kind of it spiraled real quick. I mean, I had the upbringing I had, and then I had a guy like my ex landlord. He drank every fucking day, half gallon of vodka a day. Ray, you were at our old house, the
Yep.
trailer, and he was still alive. And my grandmother dies,
mhm.
and that set off because I was starting to go down a path of where I wanted to find Jesus and I wanted to start reading. And then my grandmother dies, and that fat motherfucker's still alive.
Yep.
And it brought to my mind, why is that motherfucker still alive? He doesn't do shit for anybody.
Right.
And my sweet grandmother is done.
Mhm.
She's dead.
Right.
I'm not going to see her ever again. But he still gets to drink and swill the way he wants to. And that's kind of where, like, because I had like kind of a jailhouse religion because I've been
Mhm.
to jail multiple fucking times. So, I was kind of one of those, like, I call them Powerball uh, Christians. Like, please give me what I need right now. I want to get out of here. Please, please, God, the entire 9 yards.
Mhm.
And I came to find out that God's not at that point, I found out he's not a Powerball God. He's at that point, spiteful God because he
Uh-huh.
kept the son of a bitch like my ex landlord, Bug. He kept the son of a bitch like my ex landlord alive while my grandmother, you know, died away slowly from
Right.
cancer. And I couldn't find a way in my heart to say, like, oh, yeah, there's a God and he loves me. No, you just took one of the most important fucking people in my life and left this fucking fat sack of shit, which he
Right.
died like a year later. And that's where my, I guess you call it impotence, for
Yep.
lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Whenever it
Yeah,
comes to,
pretty much.
No, and yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different, stories that are all, like that. We're all
it
metalheads,
was all ego. It
you,
was
oh
all
no,
ego.
no, no, absolutely. And you telling a story like that, immediately I started thinking about a perfect circle Judith, right? Like
Oh, yes.
where
Yes,
Ah,
yeah.
Maynard's talking about his mom, having cancer and
Mhm.
loving God and praying to God and all this other stuff, and it's just like, well, if God really or if God really loved you, why would He have taken you or allowed you to get cancer and all these other things and stuff? And yeah, I mean, people that are really good people end up, in really bad situations where absolute worthless, low lives that shouldn't be here at all end up living till they're 100 for no reason whatsoever. And people who smoke and drink and do all kinds of really bad stuff. live forever, and people that live a righteous life that work out and everything else end up with cancer and die. Like it is, it's weird. And a lot of that comes down to, and if you don't have, I guess if you're not devout and you're in your faith and you're still in that, intermediate area, then immediately it's a, well, why would I even care? Because, obviously it's not that important. Why would you take somebody
Right.
that's a good person and leave somebody else behind? Now, if you, I guess, were, extremely, faithful and believed, then you would just be at peace with it. And maybe that would be a different story. But like, no, I completely understand that. I mean, it's, and it was kind of the same way. I was, just telling Jessica before this, he's known my mom forever. And when she passed, like, uh, I saw it happening. I knew it was happening. We all did. She had cancer for a couple years, but like, except for in private, like I didn't cry. Like I held it together for my wife, for my family, for, for my dad, for my sister, all that kind of stuff. But like, I was more angry than I was hurt. And until it
Hmm.
until it finally hit me later on, and at that point, too, it was just like, why would I? Where's the faith at when, somebody that was trying to be a good person, could be taken away that easily? When, yeah, I mean, just worthless people are walking the earth every single day, and they'll be here forever, and it's just it's weird. So no, I completely understand that.
Oh yeah.
And the last thing I kind of want to go over, and I think it's a really good conversation. We're here about a half an hour now, but um,
Oh wow, we have been.
kind of, yeah,
It's almost
right. I
15
mean,
minutes.
right,
No,
exactly.
there
But
goes the 15-20.
yeah, so, but and I'd love to be able to do this more often because I think this is really where I want, a
Absolutely.
lot of these conversations to go, especially as we all grow in our faith a little bit more. But and
I'll
and
love to
then
do it. You just let me know.
oh, absolutely, man. I'd love to do this, and we can even bring Flip into this and everything else. But like, how, and the one thing, and it is pride, 100%. It is a sinful, act, but being that I am still new to this, and my background in the metal scene, my background with a lot of people that aren't faithful, my background, I had a buddy of mine calling me not too long ago. It's like, hey, like, do you still have a guitar? Like, I need a guitar player for our black metal band because they have like a satanic black metal band and stuff. And you know what? They actually sound pretty decent. Musically, I haven't read the lyrics, don't really know what their content's about or whatever, but like they're good at what they do. And he did a really good job at recording and stuff like that. And it's where I played for years in death metal bands and stuff. Now religiously we don't align anymore. But, you know, faith wise, how do you deal with uh I guess people of your past that you know the pride of having the conversations and wondering like how they're going to react, like knowing that you've changed a lot of your ways, and you no longer maybe align with them spiritually or whatever it may be.
So it's kind of interesting. So with me, so when everything happened and how serious I decided to take this, I actually quit listening to bands. Believe it or not, bands and certain songs, I didn't support the message anymore.
Right.
Now I still, I still dabble into black metal here and there, but not like I did.
Right.
And like I said, certain bands, certain songs, I got rid of it. Now for the people, so I went on a spiritual thing mentally. I forgave people of my past, and some supported it, some didn't give a shit. And how I look at it too is the people with me, with my past and my personal life, with the what's the word I'm looking for, the roadblocks I've had in my life. I look back on them as I think I was being tested.
Mhm.
I was being tested there, and the people that haven't changed from my past, I'm not saying you're terrible people or I'm ashamed of you or anything like that.
Right.
You don't fit my criteria anymore.
Right.
And one day, maybe, sure, I will never rule anybody out of my life like that. But
Absolutely.
for now, where I'm at spiritually and emotionally, the best place where I can be is where I'm at, and it's the best and free and happy I've ever been in my entire life. My 34 years here, I've never been more at peace in my life.
And I'm kind of the exact same way in that aspect too. I mean, I think it all kind of really does fall in line. I had I don't even remember where it is, because I wanted to just kind of with me trying to start this Honorbound podcast or the Honorbound Brotherhood stuff and everything else. I'm really trying to post and trying to
Well, you're the
encourage men.
first guest.
Right. And I'm really trying to,
Awesome.
I'm really trying to, post specifically because, outside of like Jesse, I mean, for the most part, like I'm a huge introvert and I don't have a whole lot of, those like, your tribe, so to say. So like, how do you build that tribe of men around you to kind of come into that? And it kind of occurred to me, and I've never been one to care what other people think ever
Mhm.
until this happened. And then suddenly it was just like, yeah, I had a conversation with my wife about like, I'm at a point right now where it's time to level up. And the only people that are going to be around me are the people that are either on my level or higher. And I'm not dragging myself back down anymore to accommodate people that just have no aspirations to be better. So it's like, I'm in a place in my life where a personal gain is worth the sacrifice. I'm leveling up. And if that doesn't align with someone from my past, I'm okay with it. I'm happier, more driven, focused, and positive today than I've been in a long time. I finally found a mission worth fighting for: faith, family, and freedom. If you don't like it,
Yep.
that's fine. And I've been that guy for as long as I can remember. It's like, you know, you screw me, I'll turn my back, I'll walk away, and it won't cross my mind one single time 30 years down the road that I haven't seen you or talked to you. I don't care. I've never been that person. It was like I dwelled on something, I held grudges, any of that. It's just like, you screwed me once. That's all it takes. I'm done. And then this kind of thing hit, and it was just like suddenly I started caring about like what is so and so going to think, knowing that I was like this huge atheist, and and was just this guy for years and years, and within the last like 2 months it everything's changed. And
Mhm.
is it like imposter syndrome? Is it, what is it that's, because the only thing I can think of that would make me feel that way is not like if I was really certain at that given point where I was questioning it that, I was 100% in, I wouldn't care. But I had that moment of like imposter syndrome where it was just like, okay, I'm going to post something online, and there's a couple people on there that follow me that have known me for the last 20 years. And what are they going to think? And it took me about
Yeah.
it
Yep.
took me about 2 weeks. It took me about 2 weeks of like sitting with the Bible every day and sitting with my thoughts and kind of praying. And it was just like, you know what? I don't care. I can't care, because if I do, I'm not going to continue going through with this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in that
I
boat
get the
right now.
imposter thing because I'm not great in the Bible. I'm gonna be honest. It's only been a few months,
Oh yeah, it's new.
and I've gone off of learning more online than a
Hmm.
physical Bible, if I'm
Oh
being
yeah,
honest.
absolutely. Me too.
Because I, I'm a visual learner,
Hmm.
and seeing people show like they make AI is crazy. How
Oh yeah,
they can simulate things. That I'm drawn to that more than reading it,
yeah.
and that's thank God we're in the golden age of the technology that we're in, because there is some good that can come out of that, and that's how I've learned my way. But the imposter syndrome, I definitely get it, because at the same time, when it's all happened and I started taking it very serious, I'm like, this doesn't seem right,
Right,
and I questioned myself. But my wife and my mother-in-law and my mother have been the most supportive of it. So when I came out onto Facebook about my finding of religion, Jesse was, I believe, the first or second person that actually called me about it. And I made a whole post about it. And I thought about, I'm like, people, I don't know how they're going to react to it. And
hmm,
I second guessed it. Absolutely. I was nervous as hell. But I did it, and I got great response out of it. And I couldn't believe it. The
right.
outpour of support. People were religious that didn't know we were religious.
Hmm.
People that are similar, how they found their way. And I'm like, holy crap, this was probably the best Facebook post I ever decided to do,
Right,
and it opened my eyes.
right. No, and that's just it. I mean, like, you know, I was I was nervous about Jesse, being able to read some of the things. It's like, you know what? If he says something like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care. I've known him long enough. Like, but there was definitely those. I mean, even like my dad. My dad's been religious. He grew up in a Catholic orphanage. We never went to church when I was younger or any of that kind of stuff. But he's always been faithful. And since my mom passed, it's definitely gotten a lot more. But he's always let me just kind of have my time, like thinking like, oh, eventually he'll come around. But like, it
Yeah.
was one of those things of like, I don't want to post on Facebook because I don't want people from my personal past. Because Facebook's like family, Instagram is like you're still anonymous. Like everybody that follows you doesn't know you, and
Hmm.
same way with X and
And
everything
X is
else.
just
So
a shit show.
right, so like most social media platforms are like, yeah, I'll go ahead and post because nobody knows me. It doesn't really matter. But like Facebook was like that whole like there's a lot of family on there, and there's a lot of people on there that
Hmm.
you know, I, I'm going to Thanksgiving dinner. What are they going to say? And it kind of was like that weird part where you know I still don't get a whole lot of interaction on it because social media is just a dumpster fire anyway. But like, yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, it was that weird feeling, and then suddenly I started posting because it finally occurred to me. It was like, you know what, this is who
Fuck
this
them.
is who I want to
That's
be.
what occurred to you. Fuck
Right.
them.
Right. And this is who I want to
Yeah.
be. This is
Exactly.
how this is what's bettering me. And if you don't like it, tough. I mean, it is what it is. And I'm moving forward. And if you're not going to be
Yeah.
if you're not going to jump on the ride with me, then stay back there. Because yeah, I mean that's the thing. And if we can get guys like us to level up and want to, and I'm new to faith here in the last like going on 2 months now and stuff, and like you were saying
Shit,
too,
I'm
and
new to faith in like the
and
last hour.
right, and it just really comes down to the fact that like you know I'm not looking for yeah, yes, I'm looking, I'm going to be joining a church, joining a men's group and stuff like that here in the upcoming, couple weeks and stuff. I have a meeting with here at a local church down the road from me on, I think it's like the 7th of December or whatever is their next kind of opening where they're really kind of having a sit down and stuff, and just trying to really feel out what the church is like. And it's a non-denominational church and stuff. But I mean, it's I know some other people that go and that kind of stuff. But it is. I'm at that point right now where you know I've always been the mentor. I haven't been mentored in a long time. So like it's weird trying
Oh,
to go
John,
out
let me
there and
take
find
you under my wing.
right. It's weird like trying to find somebody. It's weird trying to find somebody else, and then jump on ship and like try to have somebody else guide you through. But like I'm at that point where uh, find people like us that are maybe new to religion, new to faith,
Hmm.
bring them on board. Let's all go through it
Yeah.
together and let's figure it out. And then
Absolutely.
having other people that have that are devout, that have been in it for a long time, that know a lot about it, and then having them coach and mentor and all the other kinds of things too. And that's kind of what I really want to look for, because ultimately what it comes down to, like we said, I mean, there's an awakening going on right now, and either you're going to jump on ship and you're going to figure it out and you're going to better your life. I'm 41. I've have I wasted 40 years of my life not understanding faith, or am I finding out at just the right time? Now it
Exactly. Yeah.
is now the time I was meant to find out. And
That's how I see it.
Probably.
right, and I'm trying to come to grips with that. Again, the imposter syndrome of all these people that grew up in church, you know, know so much, or did they just go because that's what they do and they really not involved? It's just, you
Well,
know,
for a long time, that's what they did.
right. Well, and that's the thing. A lot of
Yeah.
people, from when they were a kid, go and then they're still going. They don't believe in it. They don't care. It's just what they do. So I've
Oh,
and
it's literally the movie Dogma.
right.
Yeah.
No,
It's you
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
have to
Holy
find
crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
you go because you have to,
Right.
or because it's something that you do every fucking Sunday.
Right.
Like a routine. It's your routine.
Right,
It-
absolutely. It's like,
yeah,
it's Sunday. It's Sunday. It's church and football. I mean, it's just what it is. Like, what are you doing
there
on
we
Sunday?
go.
Church and football. After church, we go out to breakfast, then we go watch football. I mean, it's,
Yep.
and it's been that way forever, and it's just what we do. And there's no other. It's like, well, why do you do it? It's what we do. It's like,
Who
okay,
knows?
cool, but
I mean, I was baptized Catholic.
right,
I
and
don't remember it.
I don't know if I was ever baptized. My dad was Catholic. My mom wasn't. The Catholic Church kicked my dad out because he wasn't marrying a Catholic woman. And at that
I was
point,
baptized Presbyterian.
yeah, and at that point, they just stopped going to church because if my dad kind of I don't know if he turned his back on the church or whatever, but it was like you're seriously. I was like, grew up in a Catholic orphanage, was eventually fostered. His foster parents were very, very religious, and then when he married a woman that wasn't, or when he met a woman that wasn't Catholic and wanted to marry a woman that wasn't Catholic, and the Catholic Church said, oh, looks like you got to go. And when I heard that story, I was like, "Are you like this love thy neighbor garbage is all fake nonsense?" And
Yeah.
when I
No,
heard
it's all
that story,
convenient, but that's
yeah.
the
Well, and
Catholic
then
way.
yeah, and then when we went to go get married, my wife is Catholic. She went to church a lot before we met, but it was like, well, John needs to go through all of the uh, Catholic
Oh,
rituals to become a Catholic so that he can get married in
why
a Catholic church.
those
And
things?
then, yeah, I was like, well, he needs to go through all these different classes to become part of the Catholic church so that you can get married because you need to marry a Catholic. And it's just like, no, I'm not doing that. And then when, my daughter, when she was like 4 months old, she got really sick. She was in the hospital. She was intubated, all these other kinds of things. And the preacher that tried to get me to convert came, and there was a conversation about like, well, can you baptize her? And he's like, no, no, you guys refuse the Catholic Church, so the answer is no. And it's just like, okay, well, I guess there's another good reason why this isn't going to happen at that time. So maybe at 41, now's the time. And it waited until this time for a specific reason. And whether
Yeah.
you want to call Charlie a martyr or whatever it was, a martyr for the cause,
Absolutely.
I think more men have joined the churches since his passing. There's a lot of things that have happened recently, and like you said, like I said, there was an inkling there for a long time, and then that turning point
Uh-huh.
hit when he was assassinated. It was like, all right, now's time. And I don't want to be that guy that's grouped in with all the other guys who was like, oh, you're just doing this because of Charlie. No, I mean there's purpose
Mm-mm.
here.
Why
There,
not?
there's purpose here, but at the same time, there's I'm not going to deny the fact that there was a awakening at that point, and that was part of it. So
Mhm.
again, the whether it's the imposter syndrome or whatever it was keeping me from being able to actually
Who
openly admit a lot of
cares?
this stuff. And that's just it. It took me about a week, maybe two, of sitting there and really paying attention and really thinking, and eventually coming to this conclusion of like, again, I'm leveling up, and and that means that faith and the rest of the stuff is coming with it. And if that's not what you're up to and that's not what you want to do, then I'll find other people that are. So but
Mhm.
I think
You
it's
said
It's
it
crazy
perfectly,
because
brother.
I my pastor, when I met him for us to get married, he told me, I told him, like, I'm late to the ball game, and he looked at me. He's in his late 60s, early 70s, Pastor Larry. He looked at me, laughed. He's like, I didn't find where I was at until I was 38 years old.
right.
And he's a pastor now of a church that's averaging almost 300 people every Sunday now.
Good.
This awakening is huge. In
Right.
that, in Northside Church in Calcutta, Ohio, that's where we go, and
Okay.
that's where people. It's growing
Ohio's
like
still a
crazy.
state.
But yeah, he literally said it's. He's like, no, and he's like, I was in a rock band.
Right.
I was in a bar band, and I traveled around. And one day, he said it clicked. He's like, I was
Mhm.
38 years old,
Yeah.
and he's like, it's never, and like how you said, 41. I'm 34. Jesse's 60. You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
Fuck you!
but yeah, it clicks at different times, and I think it's built that way. I really
Yeah.
do feel like it's built that way, and God tests you before
Mhm.
you can fully feel it. my whole 20s was a challenge. I'm surprised I made it to 30.
Right.
Jesse knows. I'm lucky to be here. And I feel like my whole 20s was a whole challenge that led me to where I'm at right now in my life spiritually.
Oh, absolutely. And I knew Jesse, for years in his family life. He's known, me and my family life and everything else. It is it the looking back at what was happening. I didn't think I'd make it to 35, 40 years old. But like I said, I met my wife 20 years ago almost, and a lot of the things that I was doing changed just from meeting her, and just kind of a lot of my mindsets. I slowed down a lot, and that probably saved me from probably just jumping off a bridge at some given point. But it's crazy. And again, everybody has their moment at some given point. It doesn't matter what the age is, when it comes or whatnot. But I guess the purpose is just finding it. So that's awesome. But anyway, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we're
it's crazy doing this as well. Sorry, one more
no,
thing.
no, yeah.
Since we're being metalheads here, real quick, it's like God led me on this path too. I found that uh, Christian metal
Oh yeah.
slaps like crazy, man.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it does.
I listened to Impending Doom, bro. I've
Right.
been listening to
Right.
Impending Doom.
Dude,
Christ
my
is King
shit.
is like my theme song right now.
Right. Oh,
Like,
I've found a whole
like
a
it's
whole
insane
mess
how
of it.
that is.
Yeah, dude, I've found a whole mess
Yep.
of different bands that are all like that. And I was going through after Impending Doom and found a bunch of bands that like have completely disbanded, like they're not even together anymore. And then suddenly it
Yeah,
like
same.
suddenly like a lot of the metal turned into like Christian deathcore, and it was like, oh my goodness, like
Yeah,
this is
it's
insane.
crazy.
Like I grew up listening to like what was it, Living Sacrifice, like that was out like
Salvation.
in
Yep.
like
What the fuck?
'89. But yeah, they were like out in '89, and it's just like when I heard them in like the mid '90s, I didn't know they were Christian. I didn't care. I mean, their music sounded
Yeah,
awesome.
it was heavy.
Yeah, it,
It
it,
was
it was
heavy,
heavy.
man.
It sounded awesome. I wasn't really paying attention to the lyrics or anything like that. It was a really cool band. And like, I'm growing up and stuff, and it's just like, I listen to music just for the music aspect of it. I didn't really dive
Hmm.
into the imagery or anything like that. I mean, hell, we could talk about Slayer and the fact that Tom Araya was a
Yeah.
Christian, singing all the
Yep.
stuff that Jeff Hanneman and Kerry King were telling him to sing. He didn't believe in any of
Ray
it. It was
Ray,
just
what
it
was
was
the
just a
Great
last
cool band.
example
concert you and I attended together?
was Pantera last year, fool.
Yep.
Pantera, and
But
then before that,
Slayer's farewell tour. But yeah,
wait,
it's funny that with Slayer, that Slayer show, my wife's like, you can't. I'm like, you don't understand. That's a Christian
yeah,
performing that. He
yeah,
doesn't give into that. He's just performing. It's
right.
music. It's an art.
Yeah, it was 100% performance, and a lot of the reason he retired was because he didn't believe in any of the stuff that he was doing or whatever. He didn't write any of the lyrics. I mean, hell, he barely even played
Yeah.
bass, but like it was an awesome band,
Yeah.
and I mean that was the whole thing. But yeah, I mean it's like you know the our upbringing and stuff like that. I think it's actually a pretty decent podcast, like having three metalheads like talking about
Yeah, buddy.
talking about doing a 180 and different types of religion now and stuff. So no, that's actually pretty awesome. But no, man, I mean we're pushing almost 55 minutes now and stuff like that. I
Yeah, I was gonna say
really
we can end it.
no man, I
I
really,
enjoyed
really
this.
appreciate it. Absolutely.
yeah,
I think
I
Yeah.
initially told Ray Ray about 15 to 20.
no, absolutely. And I kind of figured a
No, it was a
conversation
good
was just going to go
conversation.
sideways eventually and get into it. But no, man, I'd be more than happy to do this more often and stuff. And
Heck yeah.
as
Yeah,
we're continuing to grow in
absolutely.
this, and as we're continuing to grow in this, and if we just have moments that we can just kind of jump on randomly and stuff, I mean, let's go for it. I mean, as we
Yeah, definitely.
we need to drag Jesse into it a little bit more and get him a little bit more involved. And
Yep, I'm gonna work on him. My pastor currently had surgery, so he's out right now.
Okay,
He said I'm gonna set up a meeting and he's gonna come meet Pastor Larry. And I know it's a bit of a drive for him, but I think it'd be worth it.
how
So yeah, we're definitely gonna work on it. And
Where's Calcutta at?
it's technically East Liverpool. It's like
Oh,
Hopewell,
that's
not
not that
Hopewell
far.
kind of thing in PA.
That
No,
that's
it's
not
about
very far.
35 minutes for
Okay.
him.
Hell yeah, good deal. Yeah, I mean, if you guys are going up there or whatever, give me a little bit of
You
notice or
can you come
whatnot.
on
And
too?
oh no, absolutely, I'd love that. I mean, yeah, let's go
You
ahead and do
know,
that. Like I
awesome.
said, I'm joining a church down here and stuff like that, and trying to find a men's group and stuff. And yeah, I mean, just get out there, get different viewpoints, and meet different people, and just
Yeah,
kind
absolutely.
of do that. So if he's jumping on board or whatever, I have no problem. Just let me know, and if I can make it,
Yeah,
I will.
yeah. Yeah, but
Awesome, man.
like I said, I've been following this whole thing, and I told Bobo, I call him Bobo. I told Jesse, I was like, hey, anytime you need a guest or something,
Yeah.
I'm a diehard Republican, proud conservative, I'm a religious man, I'll do whatever. And so when he texted me, he's like, you want to get on? Yes,
Hell yeah, good deal.
absolutely. So
Good deal,
anytime.
man.
Thank
Yeah,
you again.
absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Send get my number and stuff like that off of Jesse or whatever. Send me
Sure.
your contact information, and if you're on any social medias or whatever, and I'll jump on and
Yep.
I'll follow you and stuff, and that way we can connect online and stuff too. So, yeah, man. I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate Jesse for introducing you and stuff and getting you on here, and yeah, can't wait to speak again.
All right,
Absolutely.
guys.
Thank you guys
All
very
right,
God
much.
bless
And
you.
look forward to more.
definitely, man.
All
Appreciate
right,
it. Thank
Bo.
you. Later.
Thank you guys.